So. A taxidermist living down in the greater Milwaukee area recently made a case for this, so before it was even transported here, we made sure that we had a case to protect it, and that has been manufactured for it, and so we have the ability to be able to nicely display this. And with that, this is our newest edition for the education purposes. If you would, please unveil it for us. And here is our latest Passenger Pigeon itself.
Here it is.
Now, I need to mention that if you look at the paintings and photos, or even in museums, you'll normally see the large birds, long breast, with this rosy color along the breast and the highlights along the side of the face. Those are the male passenger pigeons. What we have here is an immature female. It is not as spectacular of a specimen in terms of the overall color and plumage, perhaps, that the males are, but more often than not, people were looking for the adult males as something to preserve. There are by far much less of females, much less the immature females, and so as a result, it's a very rare specimen as such. So it's a young bird, female of the specimen, and as Kathy mentioned, it was salvaged from the garbage. It was something to be practiced on for taxidermy. It was just incorporated into the collection, and with, of course, the demise of the species, it became just an incredibly valuable specimen. The person who worked on the glass case, Gary Sink, his wife is a taxidermist and works with the modeling down in Milwaukee Public Museum. And he said that the Milwaukee Public Museum does have a single specimen. And in fact, looking at this one and comparing it, this is actually even in finer shape than that. And so this is an extremely important historical piece. It is, of course, a very proud moment and a wonderful treasure. But I guess also, having heard the story from Kelly, it's also somewhat of a sad moment because this is as close as we'll ever get to the passenger pigeon. And it was something that I think is really probably the most important story in all of conservation history. And I've always reminded people, especially when I've worked in Russia, that here we've looked at it in North America as one of the great conservation leaders of the world, and yet we learned our lessons the hard way by exploiting the resources and with that realizing their fragile, limited nature. And I would think of any event, of anything that happened in North America, it was the extinction of the passenger pigeon that initiated the entire conservation movement. Because as Kelly had mentioned, here was a bird that probably outnumbered any other birds that ever existed on the continent. Even the most conservative estimates are 4 billion existed. And yet in a period of perhaps less than 50 years, we wiped them all out. I think what that did was make it incredibly vivid in everybody's mind that if the passenger pigeon could be wiped off from the face of the earth, nothing stood a chance without care. And so conservation became an incredible cause, and with that led to the entire conservation movement and an awakening for an entire society and civilization. And so with that, it is a reminder of the results and consequences of thoughtlessness, and if we don't take care of those species today, which are essentially diminishing in numbers. And as I've always mentioned to kids, we walk around out here in springtime. I have a chance to show them the forster's turns as they gracefully move back and forth across the marsh, fold up and dive in and plunge for the fish. They're easy to see out here because Horicon Marsh is one of the last great strongholds for the forster's tern. And yet it's one of our endangered species. What I've always asked the kids to try to imagine is how would you describe the sight of that bird to anybody if there were no more? So we're lucky we've got this here as a wonderful addition, as a piece of history, and an incredible education opportunity for people, and in a sense, kind of a mixed opportunity too, of our greatest treasure and also perhaps a reflection of one of the saddest moments in conservation history. But thank you again for the incredible generosity of the Zimdar family, and certainly for you two for making this available to us. Thank you again.
You're very welcome.